everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving right back into our folklore series and taking a look at Virginia. Back in Fairfax County in 1970, a mysterious urban legend had begun to take shape and even spread throughout the entire area. The legend of the Bunny Man. The Bunny Man apparently wasn't just a random story that parents told their kids to make them go to bed at night. No, the Bunny Man was far more real than that. At least he was made out to be. A clipping from the Minneapolis Star, a newspaper that picked up the story on Halloween night 1970, read, "Fairfax, Virginia. The Bunny Man first appeared 2 weeks ago when he smashed the window of a car and told the astonished couple inside that they were trespassing. Now, the 5'8" man in rabbit clothing has struck again. A guard in a housing project under construction told police that he came upon a figure in a white bunny suit with floppy ears chopping away with a hatchet at the porch post of an unfinished house. When the guard approached, the Bunny Man said, 'You are trespassing. If you come any closer, I'll chop off your head.' The strange figure then turned and hippity-hopped off into the woods. Police say that they have no clues to his identity. So far, they only know that they're searching for a 20-year-old, 5'8" rabbit with a hatchet. Apparently, this man was close enough to get some sort of gauge on his age and his height, but what's so strange about the case to me is that initially, the Bunny Man wasn't terrorizing children. Not to mention, the reports of him tended to gain traction after Halloween. Reading this, you might think that, oh, it's nothing more than a Halloween prank on some neighborhood kids or something, but that really doesn't seem to be the case. Years later, after almost a decade of research, one researcher, Johnson, does state that many of the sightings that followed were from kids. The 54 variations of the story led to a rough tally that included A. 14 different geographic locations, B. 18 involve the Bunny Man chasing or frightening people, usually kids, with a hatchet or axe, C. 14 tell of attacks on cars, D. 9 claim he attacked a couple parked in a car, E. 5 accuse him of vandalism on homes or buildings, and F. Only 3 mentioned a murder. Based on the widespread geographic locations and the significant variation represented in the tales that Johnson found, he concluded that the Bunny Man was an urban belief tale. In short, the Bunny Man didn't exist. So, were all these people simply wrong? After all, Fairfax had been flooded with reports. What are the chances that everyone was imagining the same thing? Well, to better understand that, we need to take a deeper look into the lore behind the Bunny Man itself. Although the story has undoubtedly changed throughout the years, it generally follows the same thread. In the early 20th century, deep in the woods that divided the town of Clifton from Fairfax Station, there was an asylum for the insane. At some point it closed, and the residents were piled on a bus bound for Lorton Prison. On the way there, the bus swerved and crashed. Many convicts escaped, only to later be caught, save for one, Douglas Griffin. According to my source, while searching for him, the authorities found a trail of half-eaten, gutted bunnies, with many hanging from what was then called Fairfax Station Bridge. For months, the police searched for Griffin, but he was never found. Then, on Halloween night, several teens were hanging out under the bridge. At the stroke of midnight, they were attacked. The next day, they were found hanging from the bridge, gutted like bunnies. To this day, it's said that if you're at Bunny Man Bridge at midnight on Halloween night, you too will meet the fate of those teens and rabbits. As for why Brian was in an insane asylum in the first place, some say that he, in 1949, slayed his wife and their 8-month-old baby girl, then dumped them into a shallow grave in Fairfax. There's a few things that make this story believable, but many more that don't. One important piece of this puzzle is the Colchester Overpass itself. Also known as Bunny Man Bridge, this is the perfect spot for some eerie ghost stories to occur. As it's a Civil War-era railroad station, that only seems to add to the general spookiness of the place. Yet the reason why these theories make no sense are undeniable. After all, some sources say that in 1943, 3 teenagers were found dead hanging at the Bunny Bridge with the notes, "You'll never catch the Bunny Man," attached to their bodies. How would this be possible if Griffin was the perpetrator, but he didn't even commit the crime until 1949? As I'm sure that you're starting to see, these timelines just don't add up. It doesn't make sense that Griffin could have been the Bunny Man. Other sources point out that if this truly happened in the early 1900s, some decades before, then the Lorton prison wouldn't have even been open at that time, which pokes a massive hole in the prison transfer story. Archivists and researchers have also pointed out that the couple in the very first sighting may have not seen the Bunny Man at all. Fairfax archivist Brian Conley explained that someone appeared very quickly, yelled something having to do with trespassing, and threw a hatchet at the car. The couple didn't get a very good look at the person. All they really got was that they were dressed in white or light-colored clothing and may or may not have had something on their head. From there, the archivist says, the story started to morph quickly. Within a few years, children were swapping stories about a man in a bunny suit chasing kids throughout the woods with a hatchet. The version that journalist Mark Blitz heard involved a guy eating bunnies. Like a game of telephone, the story went from one person to another, taking on increasingly imaginative details. Today, the bunny legend has traveled far beyond Fairfax County. There's Bunnyman t-shirts, Bunnyman beer, and a Bunnyman horror movie franchise. As Conley's research on the true story of the Bunnyman has circulated online, some refuse to believe that he's telling the truth. There are some people out there that are convinced that the story, as it is told, is true, Conley says, and that myself and Fairfax County are trying to cover something up. Of course, if you ask me, I'm sure that any of you who have been on this channel for any amount of time know that I'm more inclined to believe that this was just some guy, maybe in a white night robe and a nightcap, who told them to leave. I mean, that is the most simple explanation. That's the one that makes the most sense, but it's not the one that's the most fantastical. So, like Roswell, the Mothman, the Wawel Dragon, hell, even the genuine murder of Lizzie Borden's family members, these stories and this folklore, whether real or alive, can be made into profit. That's exactly what was done here with the Bunny Man. Any actual evidence that he exists is minimal at the very best. If you ask me, I think that some of the reason the Bunny Man thrived in the first place is because of the era of the Satanic Panic, ramping up in those days. The Manson cult murders put ritualistic killing and other satanic possibilities on people's minds. In 1972, the publication of LaVey's Satanic Rituals also reinforced the idea that dark occult rituals and activity was routine for many Americans. One source explained that the growing fascination with the occult also coincided with a number of extremely well-publicized serial killers that took place in the 70s. The Zodiac Killer, the Alphabet Killer, both of whom used ritualistic patterns in their killings, and neither of whom were ever caught. Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, the Hillside Stranglers, David Berkowitz, aka the Son of Sam, who sparked a mass panic during the summer of 1977 in New York City. So, given this whole atmosphere, it doesn't seem that far-fetched that a story such as the Bunny Man would have thrived. As is the case with most of the folklore I discuss on my channel, I don't think there's enough evidence, and I'm pretty confident that the case of the Bunny Man is simply another one of these so-called sightings that may have gotten wildly out of hand. Even so, I am really curious to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. I apologize if today I sound a little bit scratchy. I'm still kind of sick, but hopefully you guys understood me just fine. Let me know in those comments down below what you think of the Bunny Man and if you have any recommendations for my next video. Bye guys!